Welcome back everyone to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch, and today we're going to take a look at a deck that you can pick up and play right now that is going to be good in the next couple of weeks in the early Silver Tempest format. It is Arceus Duraludon, a deck that's been around for quite a long time now, and it is extra powerful considering the fact that the new Lugia VSTAR is going to be attacking using special energy. Let's start off by looking at Duraludon VMAX. This 330 HP Dragon-type VMAX Pokemon is the core of the deck. It has the ability Skyscraper, which prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by Pokemon that have special energy attached. That means that any Pokemon, Arceus, Lugia, Regigigas, whatever it is, it cannot deal damage to this Pokemon when this ability is functioning. That in itself is a very strong effect, but then we also add in the fact that we have 330 HP and are playing other cards in this deck that can potentially give us more HP, like Big Charm, and suddenly we have ourselves a very, very big, difficult Pokemon to knock out. It's also capable of dealing a lot of damage using a fighting and 2 metal energy. We can use G-Max Pulverization for 220 damage. Very, very strong. Its damage isn't affected by effects on your opponent's active Pokemon, so you can hit through some things like, you know, there are some Pokemon that you can hit into that you wouldn't normally be able to hit into. It's very good, and in general, as a 3-prize Pokemon, you have a lot of flexibility using Duraludon. How are we going to power it up though? 3 energy is very, very difficult. Why? We have the best energy accelerating Pokemon in the game in Arceus VSTAR in the list. This card is obviously a mainstay of the competitive format, and it's because of its 2 really, really good effects. Trinity Nova is a very strong attack for a triple colorless cost. We can attach a double turbo energy and a single basic and deal 200 damage, minus 20 with the double turbo, and then accelerate 3 energy from our deck to our Pokemon V, whichever ones we want. That's fantastic, gives us lots and lots of flexibility in attacking. Plus, we also have Starbirth, which allows us to search our deck for 2 cards, any 2 cards, whenever we want, and gives us that flexibility to be able to find the pieces we need to get our Duraludons attacking. Now, in this deck, we also play 1 copy of Radiant Gardevoir. This is the Radiant Pokemon of choice for defensive tanky decks. It has the Loving Veil ability, which reduces the amount of damage that your Pokemon V take from opposing Pokemon V. Duraludon VMAX effectively having 330 minus 20 damage plus an extra 30 HP. It's like 380 HP. This thing is never getting knocked out in one shot. Now, you'll notice that this deck has some interesting cards in it. I've tried to build it in preparation for that new format, as I mentioned, so a couple of cards to keep a note of. First of all, Big Parasol is in the deck. It stops cards like Amazing Rare Yveltal from knocking out our Duraludon in a single hit. It means we can potentially live through that and try and get another knockout with our Duraludon. We also have a copy of Temple of Sinnoh in the deck. That's going to turn off all special energy and make them only provide 1 colorless. Means Lugia doesn't have access to V-Star and V-Star energy, V-Guard energy, or powerful colorless. A lot of good energies aren't available to it with Temple of Sinnoh in play. Plus, we also play Leon and Cheren's Conviction, so we can theoretically, with a choice belt, get into 1-shot range using Duraludon. 250 plus 30 is 280, which is a Leon away from a knockout on a V-Star Pokemon. Plus, in the late game, Cheren will let you deal even more damage. I think this deck is really, really strong. I like it as an early pick in this format. It seems like it has a lot going for it. We're going to jump across into some games now and see exactly how Duraludon VMAX works and whether or not we can get a couple of wins with it. I suspect we might be able to. Time to get started here, and we've had the perfect start. Our hand is actually really, really good. We have Duraludon and we have double turbo energy, which we can attach to our Arceus straight away. And to be honest, we probably don't need to do much more here. We don't know what our opponent has access to, but a Manaphy is not a great start. I mean, a Battle VIP pass is a bit of a concern. Looks like we are going up against a Palkia deck. So, not necessarily going to show off the reduction of special energy here, but the fact of the matter is Duraludon is capable of winning this matchup regardless, so I think if we can beat Palkia, we should be in a pretty good spot. Our opponent now using Battle VIP Pass a second time to grab a couple of Sobble, throw those onto the bench, and then attach an energy to their Palkia. Our boss's orders is also very frustrating. Gusting out that Duraludon early means that we might not be able to get an attack off with Arceus this turn, and that's actually thrown a little bit of a hammer into the wrench. Wrench, etc. Let's just stop talking for a minute and play some cards. I'm going to Ultra Ball. We're going to grab Arceus. The disappointing thing here is I wanted to Arceus and get the VMAX and also a research off of our Starbirth. But now I think our Starbirth is simply going to have to be research and switch. It's the only realistic way that we can go about this game here. We can't afford to try and risk it. We have to attack with the Arceus. Not ideal that this has come up, but it's okay. We've also got the Choice Belt. We can throw that down. I might put that on the Duraludon and then use Professor's Research and see what we can come up with here. We'll throw down this second Duraludon, perhaps. Is it worth playing down? Maybe not. Maybe we just Ultra Ball it away. Grab ourselves another copy. Actually, no, not another copy. Just the first copy of Duraludon VMAX. Put that in play, and now we should be able to simply Trinity Nova. We could Quick Ball. I don't think we need to. We'll Trinity Nova, 180 damage, and then accelerate, fighting double metal to our Duraludon. Alright, so our board state is set up. We have done all the things that we need to do in our first two turns. And that is the real beauty of Duraludon. So we don't need to do a huge amount. In our early game, all we need to do is make sure that our Arceus gets powered up and then our Duraludon gets powered up. And we should be able to get ourselves a victory at some point. Now, our opponent has a Palkia in the active. They may be able to get a knockout on Arceus VSTAR, but it will be very difficult. They'll need to have a huge turn here to get that knockout. The maximum amount of damage that they can be dealing right now is 190 from their side of the field, plus an extra 40, so 230 damage is the most amount of damage that they can deal to this Arceus if they have a Choice Belt and a Palkia, which it looks like they have. I don't think that there's a way that they can ever get enough of my Pokemon out of my discard pile onto the bench to take enough knockouts. I just don't think that they can do it. So we're looking at a half hit into Arceus here for Palkia, and that is really quite good for me. I like that quite a bit. They don't knock out the Arceus, which means that we have a chance to potentially take a KO of our own. In fact, if we find access to boss's orders, we might even be able to boss out the Palkia on our opponent's bench, which I do like the sound of quite a bit. We'll see, though, whether or not it's going to be enough. We just have to wait and see what our top deck is. Palkia is one of these decks that's quite difficult for Arceus Duraludon to beat consistently. Oh my goodness, we've just top decked the boss. Okay. That changes everything. I was about to say now we just, we have to just go about our business. But I think we are going to retreat here. We've got Cheren in the deck, so we might be able to get value out of this Arceus later. What I am going to do is I am going to play down the Duraludon V on the bench. I will attach a double turbo to the active Arceus. Then we're just going to play Marnie. We're not going to take the knockout. We don't need to take the knockout. We're just going to retreat. We're going to attack into the active with the Duraludon VMAX. We could have taken the prizes. We're not going to worry. We're just going to hit this Palkia here. It's going to be fine. We probably should have bossed. We probably should have still bossed. It's okay. We're going to retreat. We're going to go into the Duraludon. And we are going to G-Max Pulverization. Our opponent doesn't have any way to deal with us right now. They can't knock out the Duraludon on the active. They might be able to use a Gust of their own. But if they do, then we have access to Marnie. We have Quick Ball. We have Pumpkaboo to remove Path to the Peak if we need to. There's a lot to do. We've got a whole bunch of options. The more I'm looking at this board state, the more I'm like, I would be much happier if I had two more prizes. I think that I think that maybe it was a bit of an error, because what we could have done is we could have gusted out the Palkia and then tried to find the Cheren later, or the Leon later, and that would have meant that we could have knocked out the Palkia in one hit. So maybe a bit ambitious on my part to try and get this Duraludon into the active, but if our opponent doesn't have a good time, then we might be able to sneak through. Shady Dealings from Inteleon's going to grab Scoop Up Net and also a copy of Cross Switcher. Maybe they are looking at a knockout on the Arceus this turn. Maybe even a knockout on our Duraludon V if they have access to that. Obviously, Duraludon V has its own ability, which we didn't talk about in the early stages of the video. It reduces the amount of damage that is being dealt to it by 30. I believe. I'm not going to click on the card to read it. I'm just going to trust that that's what it does, as every good player ought to do. Here comes the Cross Switcher. Is it going to be a knockout on the Duraludon or the Arceus? I think it's going to be the Duraludon here. They're going to go into the Inteleon so that they can scoop it up, and they'll bring, presumably, a Palkia into the active for a knockout. If they've got enough damage to get through the hard coat, that is. Because remember, they've got hard coat to deal with and also the Radiant Gardevoir. So maybe, just maybe, we find a way to live. 190, 210, 230, 250, minus 30s, 220. They may miss because of the Gardevoir. They might actually need to just go for the Choice Belt off of this Drizzile, which they probably don't want to put on the active Palkia anyway. So I think that, or Path to the Peak could also do the job here. Path to the Peak pretty solid. We'll remove the ability of both Duraludon and Gardevoir, which I'm not a fan of. That is definitely a little bit awkward. But hey, our opponent doesn't have any energy on their benched Palkias. They haven't evolved either of their benched Palkias. And we are about to Marnie a Inteleon out of their hand, which I really, really like. We could Pumpkaboo if we want, but I actually like the idea of stopping them from playing Radiant Greninja. So we're just going to Marnie, and we will see what we can find off of the top few cards of our deck. Boss and Raihan, both very good options. No access to another Duraludon yet, but to be honest, I don't think that we need it. From here, we're just going to use G-Max Pulverization, take the KO, and then next turn, hopefully, we can get another couple of prizes with this Duraludon. And the Leon, on top of that deck, makes, on top of those prizes, sorry, makes life potentially very interesting, because now we can theoretically knock out a Palkia in its entirety. We can take the KO with the Leon and the G-Max Pulverization, and that is really, really quite impressive if we were able to do that. By the way, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. If you've been enjoying yourself and you've watched to this point, you probably do like this kind of content. If you could click subscribe and like, that would be great. You've probably already seen the little thing pop up on the bottom of the screen. That's a really cool little notification that I've got now. So when you see it, if you could click the buttons that they are asking you to click, that'd be great. Makes me feel good. I appreciate that. Also, just quietly, today, as of recording, was the first day that we saw some leaks. And I'm not talking about Scarlet and Violet leaks. I saw the potential for a Brisbane Regional from the Australian Pokemon organizer, ESL. Now, I don't know if that's a real thing or not. There was a link to, it was like Brisbane Regional, but it looked the same as like the March 2022 one. So I don't know if it's actually a regional, but it's weird that it came up. I will keep you posted. If that's a real thing, we will find out. It said like the 3rd of December, which is very soon. So I hope they officially announce something soon if it's real. Because that would be a very frustrating development if it was real, and it took us 2 days to organise ourselves to get there. December 3rd is like Schoolies weekend, which is like year 12, our final year of high school. They will go to Queensland and have a big party. So I'm not necessarily super keen on planning like exorbitant flights to get there, but we'll wait and see. Hopefully. Well, I mean, not hopefully it's not real, because hopefully it is real. But maybe it's not, maybe I don't have to, but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. It would be very cool if we could get some events, though. So, you know, if ESL, if you're watching and you haven't announced it yet, then you should get to that so that I can buy the flights. That'd That'd be great. Our opponent's doing a lot of stuff over here, but I don't feel like we're in too much of a bad position. But I will say this much. Duraludon's one of these decks where I probably only play one game with them, right? Like, this game's been going a long time already. We're only halfway through. I feel like we're probably only going to get one game. If you're seeing a video that's like 25 minutes long, if that, you've probably only got one game in this one. Cross-switcher into the Arceus, into the Palkia. So now we've got a really interesting game. They're going to take the knockout on the Arceus V-STAR, but we have access to Leon, access to a fully powered Duraludon VMAX, and more importantly, we have access to the choice build as well. That means we'll be dealing 280 damage next turn. If we can get this to work, we are actually one attack away from winning the game. If we keep our hand exactly as it is over the next 2 turns, we will win. And I'm aware that me saying that is putting a massive kibosh on. We're suggesting that Marnie will be played at some point. But you know what? I like our odds. We've got ourselves a Duraludon VMAX in the active. We've got Leon. I think we just play the Leon. It's probably one of these situations where we just have to go for like a hand thin in some way. We will just play down the Temple of Sinnoh, stop our opponent from being able to do anything. We're going to attach to the active just in case we need to, like, retreat. And then we're just going to take the knockout. 280 damage with that Leon is very, very strong. Maybe next turn we can find the Cheren's Conviction to clean up another Palkia V-STAR. That would be super, super good. Or, worst case scenario, we just keep the boss in our hands, we use boss's orders, bring out one of the benched single prize Pokemon, and take the win from there. That would be cool, but remember, our opponent can easily win the game. Palkia could be playing Echoing Horn, which would grab a basic Pokemon V from the discard pile and put it into the field of play. So if that happens, it's actually really, really bad for us, because our opponent will be able to gust that out and take the KO at some point. Also, being aware of the fact that our opponent playing Palkia can do pretty much anything that they want, there's a really high likelihood of us getting Rock Sand here. And if we get Rock Sand, we just have to draw 3 cards and see what happens. And the fact that Duraludon VMAX doesn't play too many cards, we're drawing 3 cards out of potential 31. The chances of us finding boss are pretty slim in that situation. So I'm hopeful. I am hopeful that we can get there. There's a lot of outs that we have. We have Ultra Ball and Crobat that could draw more cards. But I'm 99% sure that we're about to be Rock Sand. And if we do get Rock Sand, it's just in the lap of the gods. We have to wait and see what we find off of those few cards. As I mentioned, if we do keep our hand the same, we will just boss the game. No matter what our opponent does, we will win the turn. We will win next turn if our opponent doesn't play Roxanne. And there it is, going to hand. We knew it was going to happen, and the Echoing Horn as well. Okay. So this has just gone from quite bad to incredibly very bad. Our opponent has played Echoing Horn. They're putting down a Zigzagoon as well. They're going, if I don't win with this Palkia, I'm not going to win at all. If they don't have access to boss... Oh, hang on, they played Echoing Horn and didn't get boss, so they must not have any. They must not have any left, because there is no way that they search for Roxanne. There is no way they search for Roxanne in that situation if they have access to boss. So I think we might have actually just snuck our way into a potentially winning position here. We've got a Quick Ball, a Collapsed Stadium, and a Raihan. I think what we do is we play Quick Ball here. We get rid of the Raihan and then go and grab that Crobat V that we had in the deck before. We need one of 4 cards. Cheren's Conviction would win the game. Boss's Orders would win the game. We'll see whether or not in our 6 cards off of this Crobat, we will see whether we can win. We just need a way that we can get into a knockout this turn. That's all we need. Oh my goodness, okay. Well, that's not it. I think we attach to Duraludon, and then we can just start, like, thinning a little bit. I think we're going to need to retreat, maybe, to keep ourselves alive? Because we whiffed. Okay, so we're going to Marnie. Our opponent doesn't have boss. I think we've agreed our opponent doesn't have boss. We could have used Escape Rope. No, I forgot that was an out. Oh, I attached the energy preemptively. Oh, man, I attached the energy preemptively to try and kind of get ourselves into a position where we could win, but I forgot Escape Rope exists. That is very frustrating. Alright, so essentially now, our situation is, I think we just have to retreat into Gardevoir in some way, shape, or form, and our opponent doesn't have boss and can't win. So let's just Escape Rope. Shouldn't have Escape Roped. Shouldn't have Escape Roped. Should have just retreated. Oh my goodness. I'm all frazzled. Gardevoir has to retreat. Oh no, this is even worse than I thought it was. I thought Gardevoir was 1. Oh god. Okay. Well, I mean, they can't ever win, right? If we're making the assumption that our opponent doesn't have boss's orders, which is the assumption we've made, they didn't get the boss when they went for the horn, the echoey horn. This action is for echoing horn. That's them slamming it down. If they didn't go for the boss, they don't have it. Which means that they either have to knock this Radiant Gardevoir out or they will lose via deck out. So I think that we're okay. I think we're okay. It does, of course, depend now on a variety of factors. This is an issue, though. The fact that we don't have a boss is, again, becoming a bit of a problem. Not a massive fan. Should have just retreated. Then I could have Escape Roped. We should have won the game. It's as simple as that. And now I think we're going to lose. Now I think we're going to lose. I mean, we'll promote the Crobat. Worst case scenario, we can retreat into the Arceus and put the Big Charm on it and win. Or we could just top deck the boss. And be bailed out of a game that we probably should have won. Lost. We should have won it, and then we should have lost it. But then we were bailed out, and we won regardless. I'm not going to play another game, because I feel like that was a very, very poor performance from me. So please, leave a comment. Let me know, how badly did I play just now? I don't know that I have enough fingers to count the amount of mistakes that I made in that game, but that's okay, because we still won. Whether we should or not is another question. I'll tell you what though, thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. If you have enjoyed this, then please, again, subscribe, like the video, and if you really like it, become like these people here. Become a channel member, chuck us a couple of bucks on the way past. You get your name up on the screen if you offer up $5 a month, which is barely anything. So it's Australian dollars as well, it's nothing. Don't even worry about it. And also, whilst you're here, please click on this video. This has Chandelure in it. What? Chandelure?